You played 3 seasons in 4 years at Rice.
Yes.
How much similarity is there between the defense you played in at Rice and the defense you're about to join at SMU?
Well, so in my time at Rice, I had the pleasure to play for 2 different head coaches, 3 different defensive coordinators, 3 different defensive line coaches, and been under 3 different strength programs. So I think the one great thing about this whole process for me is that I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of different things. So I've been in probably 3 totally different defenses, but the good thing is that they all have bits and pieces of similarities to the defense that I'm about to be in now. We played 4 downs before, we played 3 downs before. I've, came in as a 3 technique. I've, moved down to all the way to being head up over the center. So I've played everywhere in between the guards and center, and so I feel like it's a lot of things, a lot of experience I could draw from in my time at Rice in making this transition. I'm still learning the defense. It's one of those things that it takes time. You definitely have to study. You definitely have to look at film, and that's what I'm in the process of doing. But as the more I look at it, the more comfortable I get, and I definitely have seen similar style play in my time at Rice.
All right, so when you start making this decision about where you're going to go for the next chapter, how much did the defensive system factor into your decision?
So the defensive system was a decent factor, but more so it was more the relationship I had with the coaches. When a player trusts the coaches and the coaching staff, it's a lot easier to buy into whatever system that they're putting out. I mean, because the coaches, they get paid. This is their profession, and they love what they do. So a lot of times, whatever defense that they decide to run from the defensive coordinator or whatever technique they want you to play with from the defensive line coach, they spend a lot of time, researching and spend a lot of time putting thought into what they want to do. So when you trust the coaches, it's a lot easier to buy into what they do. So I did like the fact that I would be able to go back to more of a 4-down front where I could play a lot more 3 technique. Is what I did in high school, is what really started my football career as far as getting attention from schools. And it's something that I kind of got away from in my time at Rice, playing more nose. And so that was exciting, but the biggest thing for me was meeting Coach Kane, meeting Coach Dearson, and all of the coaches at SMU, and trusting them and believing in the things that they were telling me, and knowing that they're gonna put me and as well as all the rest of my teammates at SMU in the best position to win.
All right, so this isn't your first go-around with SMU. You were recruited 4 years ago out of Skyline High School. You had 15 offers, something like that, including one from SMU.
Yes, sir.
Where, if I'm not mistaken, you took an official visit 4 years ago.
Yes, sir.
How is the recruiting effort or the sales pitch different now than it was when you were a senior in high school?
Well, I think the recruiting, of course the recruiting and the pitch is different with it being a different coach and different staff. But I think the main difference for me is the maturity level that I'm at, things that I've seen, things that I've experienced. So it kind of went from, hey, stay in your hometown to, come back to your hometown. And, when you're in something, it's hard to kind of see the whole perspective. It's kind of hard to see the whole picture. But, when you step away from it for a while, and you've been away for a while, and, you kind of see the things that you're missing. I mean, I come back yearly, and my nieces and nephews shoot up an inch or 6 inches, and you just kind of see things that you're missing from being around, and those are things that football and school are important, but family and being somewhere where you're comfortable, somewhere you feel that you can be your best. I think that's also important as well. So the recruiting pitch kind of changed from being stay in your hometown to come back in your hometown, but really I think the biggest thing that changed from then to now It's just the way that I view life and the way that I view, everything about it.
All right, you're a Dallas guy. You went to Skyline High School, and obviously Coach Dykes and his staff were recruiting you. How hard were your family members recruiting you to come home?
Oh, no, they definitely, once I sat down and talked it over with them about, possibly leaving Rice and everything like that. Of course, they wanted to know what all went into me thinking that and what all went into me wanting to make that decision. But once, I laid it all out there and they became comfortable with the plan. Of course, the first thing they were saying, well, it would be great if you could come back home to SMU, and everything. And so, that was always something in the back of my mind. But of course, I never want to count my eggs before they hatch. So, I had to get, the attention from them first. So, I kind of just, tried to play it cool. And finally, when they reached out, it was one of those things where I kind of knew pretty much that it would be a decision that I would definitely have to think hard about. And, once I thought it over for some time, I let Coach Dearson know, like, hey, you guys are where I want to be. So.
All right, you graduated from Rice with a degree in sport management. Was there any thought on your part to staying at Rice, finishing out your eligibility, and getting a graduate degree there? Or did the coaches try to keep you there for another year?
Yeah, they definitely did. And like I said, I played for a lot of different coaches in my time at Rice. And, I have nothing but respect and love for all of them because they all taught me something different about myself. They all helped me grow in different areas of not only football but my life. So I definitely wanted to treat this transition with class and with grace and with respect for everything that they've done and show them that I do truly appreciate it. But another thing that kind of went into making this decision is when you make a decision to go to school, being 18, I don't think you always see the whole view. Coaches typically don't stay at schools more than 4 or 5 years, but when you're coming out of high school, you don't really see that. You just see, oh, I'm building this relationship with this coach. He's telling me all these great things. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oh, I'm going to go to this school. I'm seeing a lot of new things that I haven't seen before. And so, once you get there and you get in it, and your coach leaves after the first year, and then your strength coach leaves after the first year, and then you get a new coach and another new coach, and then you as long as you're there, you want to buy into the system, but at some point you ask yourself just well, what's gonna be the best for me? Because it seems like everyone's making the best decision for them and their family. What'll be the best decision for me and my family? And so, once I graduated, once I had poured in everything that I could into the program, as far as this past season being a team captain and at the end of the season being recognized with our conference recognition, you ask yourself, okay, now this is my opportunity, especially with the creation of the transfer portal and everything like that. It's like, this is my opportunity to really show not just the school, but show the people that have supported me from when I was so small that, if this is my last go-around, if this is my last year being able to play the sport that I love, I would love to be able to be close enough to where all of you could come out and see me on my last ride.
All right, you've got your undergraduate degree from Rice. You're going into grad school at SMU. What do you want to do with your degrees after your playing career is over?
So
whenever that is.
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur in some way, shape, or form. I think the best type of business is the business you create for yourself. Typically because it's a lot of things that go into it, but it's a lot of rewards you get. And one thing about playing football that you learn is, if there's no risk, then the reward probably isn't going to be that great. So the bigger the risk, yeah, it is a big risk trying to start your own business, be an entrepreneur, or even just get into that level of industry. But once you get there and you put in the work, you put in the time, you put in the dedication, the rewards could be great on the other end. So I've always wanted to own a business, preferably, fitness has been an industry of choice. It's been something I've been involved in since I was young, watching my older brothers and sisters play sports, and then eventually getting into sports myself. And it's an industry that's really booming right now with people really buying into their health. I think we live in a day and age where people really understand how important their health is. Because without that you have nothing. No matter how much money, no matter how many cars, how big your house, if the doctor says you only have a certain amount of time to live, you won't be able to enjoy any of those things. So I think, we live in this time where people are really buying into their health. So it's an industry that's growing, and it's something that I have a passion for. They say don't chase the money, chase your passion. So and the money will follow. So that's what I really want to do.
Speaking of health, you played 11 games as a true freshman.
Yes,
and then your sophomore year got cut short because of injury after 4 games.
Yes, sir.
What happened? What'd you do to yourself?
So it was we were playing North Texas. I'll never forget it. We were playing North Texas, and it was a zone play to my right, and I saw my guard take off, and I took off with him down the line like they tell us to do, and right, the play didn't go for much of a gain, and right before the tackle is made, I see the guard gearing up to get one off on me. So me being the player I am, I say, all right, well, I guess I gotta go, and I gotta get one off on him. But I didn't see his offensive line buddy on the other side of me. So he ends up hitting me first, hits me into the guard. The guard, he ended up tearing his ACL on that play, and I ended up tearing up my wrist, same play.
Surgery or just rest and rehab, or what was
surgery.
it? Surgery?
Surgery, yes, sir.
All right, you're coming to a new team, but there's at least one familiar face. Kylan Granson played with you at Rice.
Yes, sir.
What has he told you about what it's like to play at SMU, what it's like to play for Coach Dykes and his staff?
Well, Kylan, he's a real quiet guy. He's a real hard worker. He's one of those guys who he's always been about. He's always had a great work ethic. So he isn't necessarily much of a talker, but the few things that he has told me is just if I come in and I work hard, I definitely see the results that I like.
Before Mother Nature made us move here, we're talking about the transfer portal.
Yes, sir.
How different is it being recruited as a graduate student through the transfer portal compared to the recruiting process when you're a high school senior?
So I think mainly the biggest difference that I really saw was the fact that coaches don't approach you as a high school student. They understand that you've been in college, you've seen what it's like. They understand that you have only 1 year to play as opposed to 4. So you want to hit the ground running. Whereas in high school, they talk about once you get time in our program, you'll see how things are. You'll learn, you'll get better, you'll do this. But when you've been in the program for 4 years, they understand that you know what it takes to play at that level, so they're expecting something different from you than they're expecting from a high school player. So I think that was the biggest thing with getting recruited on the portal from in high school is the expectations are different for you and for the school. You expect certain things, they expect certain things, and that was the biggest difference that I saw.
Did you look for different things or ask different questions that you didn't know to ask about 4 years ago?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and I was in a blessed position to be at Skyline, where we've had several players go to school to play football, and they would come back and share their experience and share their knowledge. So we had kind of an upper hand here as far as knowing what to expect, what not to expect, things like that. But it's nothing like experiencing anything for yourself. So, when you're in high school, you tend to care more about how things look, the aesthetics, what colors do we wear, things, just things that you see on video games or on whatever. And you will ask some serious questions, but I think this go around it was more about the relationship you build with your coaches, seeing their philosophy, seeing what they expect of their players, and then how they run their program. What things are acceptable, what things are not acceptable, because they're different in every program. And so when you're in a program for 4 years, even though we've had several changes, you get accustomed to doing things a certain way. When you go to a new program, they may not do it that way. So you need to know ahead of time so you could really speed up the learning curve for yourself, because like I said before, coming in with only 1 year as opposed to 4, you don't really have a lot of time for trial and error. It's more you want to hit the ground with those wheels already going, put the rubber to the road and just go.
Coming out of high school, you had a bunch of offers. Now you're a college graduate, you were an all-conference performer at Rice, and you still had some big-time offers. Michigan, Penn State, Iowa, Mississippi State, Northwestern. Ultimately, what made you decide that SMU is where you want to be?
I think the biggest thing that made me decide on SMU was the fact of the feeling that I got when I came. The feeling that I got when I came to the school, met the coaches in person. Because like you said, I took an official before. So I kind of knew what the facilities looked like. I kind of knew what the school looked like. Even though things have changed since I've been there the first go around. But I think I just keep coming back to that. When you have a good relationship, through recruiting, it kind of just carries over, to the next aspect, which is you actually being a student athlete at that institution. So that was the biggest deciding factor when I met the people that were up there. I sat down with the strength and conditioning coach, Coach Kaz. I had been in communication with several coaches on the staff throughout the time, and they weren't just focusing on my football aspect of life. They were focusing on every aspect of life that was going to change for me, or that is changing for me currently. And it felt genuine and sincere, and that's pretty much the only thing I can ask for, is that a person be who they are, 100% of the time, and they showed me. I mean, I was just blown away with the first impression when I actually met them in person. So that kind of sealed the deal for me as far as that goes. So yeah, I was just excited. I was excited.
One of the coaches who handled your recruiting around this time was Brett Dearson, who's also going to be the guy that you play for as the defensive line coach. From the little bit that you've gotten to know him and maybe talk to some players, what sense do you get of what it's like to play for Coach Dearson?
I definitely understand that he has a sense of urgency about him. Even from the small, time that we've been out on the field together, everything was a sense of urgency. Everything was, no walking around, no, and you're gonna get that everywhere. But the thing about Coach Dearson is he focuses on a lot of the small details. Almost every day after workouts, he's, hey, text me when you're done and we could get some film work in, or text me when you're done and I could go over the calls with you, or, anything to help me kind of speed up that learning curve. And I think it really just carried over from our relationship through recruiting. I mean, he was, one of those coaches who checked up on me constantly. He was one of those coaches who, if I had any questions, I could ask him. If he didn't know, he was going to get the answer for me. I just, had a great appreciation for that, because you don't see that everywhere. And so I really just appreciated that, and so yeah, Coach Dearson, I know he's gonna have a sense of urgency, he's gonna have high expectations, but he's also seems like a fair individual.
You talked earlier about how you played in a couple different roles in the defense at Rice. Mm-hmm. Has Coach Dearson broken down like how many different roles you're going to play in the defense at SMU, or are you going to be locked in at one role? What does he envision for you? What do you envision for yourself in this defense?
So really what I envision for myself is to contribute in whatever way I can. I understand that there's a bunch of players who have been at SMU for years and who have been playing, and I don't, I take into account everything that they did for the program. So I know that they have guys at certain positions that they still are going to play and continue to play. So me, I just want to meet them wherever they need me. Wherever they can use me, wherever they feel that I can help the team. I'm all for it. And so meeting with Coach Dearson, he's definitely defined some things that he could see me doing. But he always tells me these are subject to change. So he always tells me that these things can change. These things will change. These things have changed before. So he's talked to me about some things that he could see me doing. But ultimately, for me, whatever he sees me doing, I'm gonna do it.
The Rice website lists you at 6'2", 286. Pretty accurate?
Pretty accurate.
All right. All right, then give me a scouting report. How would an opposing coach or an opposing offensive lineman describe what it's like to play against you?
I would hope that after playing me or playing against me or game planning against my team, that a coach or a player would say that, well, my number was 96 at Rice. I hope that they would say, number 96 is going to be relentless as far as effort. If he is away from the ball, if he's away from the play, you still better block him because he's going to find a way to get to the ball. And as far as player goes, I hope that they would say that, he was a load during the game, but after the game he handled himself like a gentleman.
When a player goes from one team to another, whether it's high school to college, college to the pros, you often hear them talk about nerves and emotion and excitement. As you look forward to joining the Mustangs in the fall, are your nerves and excitement any different than they were 4 years ago when you were going from high school to college?
Not
or is it too early to ask?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say it's too early to ask, but I heard this a long time ago, and I think it rings true in my case. I heard that they said when you really care about something, the nerves are always going to be there because you care about performing well, you care about handling your responsibilities. So, I've never been one of those guys who say, oh, it's in the bag, I'm not worried, I'm not, I'm not worried about anything. I've always been a player who had nerves before games. I've always been a player who had nerves before seasons. I've always been a player who cared about everything from a workout to a film session to, anything, and so I definitely get nerves in seeing what's ahead of me. Coach Kaz has a great saying. He says you're in two places at once. You're in the present and you're in the future. And he talks about things that you're doing now affecting things that you can do later. Preventative measures that you could take now can help you prevent injuries and different things later. The way you eat now can affect how you feel later. The way you lift now can affect what you're able to do later. So, with that being said, I've always been a player who really took extreme caution with everything that I did. I did everything like they said at SMU with intent, and it's always my intention to get better. And so, you know, when you're trying to get better, you're gonna have those nerves, you know, because you know you look at yourself and you say, man, like, what do I need to work on? You know, I see the positive. I'm not discounting the positive, but what can make me take that next step to be that great player? You know, and that's always something that I'm honest with myself after the season. I'm honest with myself after each game. You know, of what I need to improve on, and you know, I go out and I strive for it. So I think when you're in the process of doing something and you're making those strides, if you're not getting nervous, you're probably a little too comfortable. You know, and that's not to say that, you know, guys that don't get nervous aren't putting in the required effort or anything like that, but it's just saying when you're comfortable, you can't push yourself to that stage, because to push yourself to that stage where you want to be, you have to get uncomfortable.
Will the presence of friends and family in the crowd add to that at all for you?
I think that'll help ease the nerves. I think that'll help ease the nerves. I mean, you know, I've always been able to play in front of my friends and family when I was back home, when I was in Dallas, when they would come to games while I was at Rice. I was able to still perform, and like I said before, with this possibly being my last go round, I want them there. You know, I want them to see everything, all the times when, you know, I couldn't be there for something, all the times when I said, I got to get to sleep early because I'm doing something in the morning, or all the times I tell them, hey man, I got practice, or I got workouts, or I got this and that, I got film, I can't do it. I want them to see that, you know, come together on the field. I want them not just to hear all this stuff that I'm telling them. I want them to see all that work that I told them I was doing actually come to life on the field, and I want them to feel like they're a part of it, because, you know, them allowing me to sacrifice time with them and sacrifice things with them allows me to go out and do what I do and be the person that I can be.